one of the famous scholars in the Islamic tradition. His name was Imam An-Nawawi. He tried to describe and explain the three types of motivations behind the obedience to the divine. So this is his opinion and his view on the types of worship based on the motivation behind that worship. So he said that there are three types of worship. The first one is motivated by fear, and the second one is motivated by reward, and the third one is motivated by love. So for the first one, he said that there are some personalities out there in the world, which is part of human nature, that are motivated by fear, by punishment, in order to try to push them towards obeying the divine and not going against his commandments. And he called this, based on the time and the place of back in the day, he called it the worship of the slave, or the obedience of the slaves. And his understanding was that for somebody who is a slave is usually motivated by fear from punishment by the master. So that was the first level of worship that he described. The second level of worship that he described is the worship that is motivated by reward, and he called it the worship of the business people. Business people, when they come to do their work, when they come to commence any project, they assess that project based on the reward. And he said that a worshipper that is motivated by the reward will look at the reward of the ritual that he or she are about to embark on. And because different acts and different rituals have different reward levels, that person who is driven by motivated by the reward will find the worship that is most rewarded. So for example, if one ritual is rewarded as the deed times 10, where another ritual is rewarded as the deed times 700, for example, he would take the one that is rewarded more times than the one that is rewarded less times. And Imam An-Nawawi called this type of worship as the worship of the business people. And then he said there's a third level, which is the highest level, and he said this is the worship that is motivated by pure love towards the divine. It is not motivated by fear, nor it is motivated by reward. It is purely motivated by that understanding and that drive that the divine is deserving of worship just because he is the divine. Not because he rewards, not because he punishes, but just because he is the divine. And that we should be loving the divine for his essence. And he said that this is the highest level of worship because that worship is not associated with anything that is materialistic. So punishment is something that is physical, that is materialistic. Reward is something that can be physical and can be materialistic. However, love is purely metaphysical. It is not something that is physical. Now, this is his understanding to try to help us find at which level we are at. And it is not a shame to be one or the other. As a matter of fact, usually the person, the human being, is motivated by one of those three at different times. So he or she might not be motivated by one purely for the rest of their lives. No, they could be motivated by fear when they come to go against the commandment of God. They might be motivated by the reward when they have options, and they could be motivated by love when they have that spiritual elevation during their day or during their night. And hence, this is not something to classify people in or through, but it is a way for us to become aware of how we're motivated by, or what we're motivated by when we come to worshiping God and obeying His commandment. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next episode.